8BitDo branded devices have graced the modern and retro gaming market since 2013. Being a big fan since day one, I've collected a few controllers and wireless dongles over the years that have become an integral part of my gaming setup. Whether you want a modern Bluetooth wireless controller for your Sega Genesis, or if you just want to connect your PlayStation 5 controller to your PC, 8BitDo has become the go-to third-party gaming accessory company for modern and retro gaming alike. And as a result, they're fast approaching legendary status for video game enthusiasts like you and me. Hey everyone, Travis Bowman here. I'm a fingerstyle guitar player and retro video game nerd. Although I've amassed a rather large retro video game console collection, I'm also pretty proud of the fact that I've also managed to connect my gaming PC to my living room television via an HDMI cable that goes through my attic. This means that I have access to my entire Steam library from the comfort of my couch. If you have the ability and the means to do this yourself, I highly recommend it. This is a total game changer, no pun intended. But when you decide to ditch the desk in favor of comfort, you'll need a controller that can handle pretty much anything that you can throw at it. Enter the 8BitDo Ultimate Wireless 2 controller. We've seen the Xbox layout in 8BitDo controllers before. With a name like Ultimate, this controller has to be at least pretty good, right? Could this be the ultimate PC controller to end all other PC controllers? Let's have a look and find out. Like most 8BitDo controllers and devices, you have several options when it comes to color preference. I chose the purple variation for this review, and it's a truly delicious grape delight. The Ultimate Wireless 2 features its own dedicated charging dock, and it's equipped with a 1000 mAh battery. We now have TMR joysticks as an upgrade from the Hall Effect joysticks that we've seen in 8BitDo controllers in the past. 8BitDo offers its signature 8-speed wireless technology with this controller. You're essentially guaranteed zero lag within 10 meters of the charging dock. This controller features a 6-axis motion control designed for first-person shooters if you're into that sort of thing. You've got a set of switches on the back of the controller that are dedicated to the triggers. Flipping these switches can easily switch to linear Hall Effect mode or the non-linear tactile mode depending on your preference in whichever game you see fit. You've also got 2 extra sets of customizable buttons in the L4 and R4 buttons. That's these tiny little baby buttons on top next to the other bumpers and triggers. And before you ask, no, they don't really get in the way of the RB/LB buttons, and it's pretty difficult to accidentally press them. Even if you did, they aren't mapped to anything by default. In fact, I would almost say that these buttons are a little difficult to reach, but I'm sure with time I'll build some muscle memory for that. We've also got some middle finger accessible paddles on the underside of the controller that can be mapped to your preference as well. We've got a very surprisingly Super Nintendo-like D-pad on this controller, and the D-pad itself has a very fine matte finish to it, which is a much better feeling than some of those glossy D-pads that we've seen on other controllers. In true Xbox fashion, the A, B, X, Y buttons are exactly where they should be, and they feel great as expected. The joysticks are also in the Xbox layout, and I've got to say that it's really amazing that these sticks are TMR. The controller itself is made from a very hard plastic with a bit of weight to it, but not too much. To be clear, this most certainly feels like a premium controller in your hands. I also really enjoy this upside down triangle configuration with the extra menu and option buttons, with the lighted home style button in the very center up top. The controller feels a little bit smaller in your hands than you might imagine a modern Xbox controller would. I think this is due to the molding of this specific controller. They likely had to thin it out a little bit to make room for the charging dock in the overall design. It's one of the first things I noticed, but it didn't really bother me at all. Getting used to the feel of the controller didn't take that long. Let's spend a little bit of time talking about the charging dock. Here's something I didn't know until I had the controller in my hands. The dock actually houses an 8BitDo receiver, much like the one we've seen before, in a little compartment underneath the dock. In fact, you don't need to plug the receiver into your computer at all, it can just stay there. In order for this to work, you have to plug the dock itself into your PC via the USB-C port on the back of the dock. I really dig this feature. You're seeing footage of me removing the controller from the dock, and as soon as it's off, we're connected and ready to play. The reverse is just as seamless. When I put this controller back onto the dock, it goes to sleep and begins charging. It's truly amazing just how fast and seamless this is. You never have to worry about pairing the controller, you just plug it in and it works. I've used several wireless controllers before, and I didn't realize how I don't like having to charge the controller itself with the USB-C cable until I had this dock for the Ultimate Wireless 2 in front of me. Kinda wish all third-party controllers came with a charging dock like this, as it's a really convenient feature. However, this means that your controller is only charging if your PC is turned on. That's not a huge deal for me, as I'm not on my PC just for playing video games. My PC is on more often than not because I'm always using it for work. I'm constantly networking, sending emails, and of course, making YouTube videos just like this one. Needless to say, I don't think I will have any issues where my controller isn't charged when I want to use it, but your situation might be a different story. I thought about putting the controller and the dock somewhere that's not on my computer desk to charge it. I wanted to test how the actual receiver would behave if it wasn't inside of the dock. But the receiver is actually USB-C itself, and I don't have a USB-C port on my PC to test it. I'm wondering how the controller would pair if the receiver was plugged into my PC directly instead of being inside of the dock, but I currently have no way to test that. I don't know if you could pair this controller with just the receiver or if the dock is a mandatory thing. Now let's take a look at a few aesthetic features that this controller can offer us. Having RGB lights around the sticks themselves is by no means a new feature, and we've seen several controllers do something like this in the past. You can customize a few different colors with a simple button combination, and they're all pretty unique and fun to experiment with. These lighting effects can be very gimmicky though. I mean, this is a controller. You're not supposed to be looking at it at all. Your focus needs to be on the game that you're playing. Despite that obvious fact, what I feel is an underrated feature is this visual feedback you get as you press buttons, pull the triggers, and move the sticks around. These aren't just pretty lights. For example, let's move the right stick around. You can see that the RGB lights surrounding the left stick are mirroring my inputs. The same effect applies with the D-pad. You can see which inputs are being registered on the lights around the left stick. The same thing can be seen while pressing the face buttons. This visual lighting feedback is also present as you're activating a trigger press. The color of the ring fills up depending on how far you pull the trigger. I showed this feature to a few of my friends, and they said that although it is pretty cool to see, they don't see any practical use for this at all. And yes, lighting effects aren't really necessary for a controller during gameplay, but there is one aspect of this visual representation of inputs that could be useful. Fighting games. There are a ton of great fighting games a la Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur, Dead or Alive, and the list goes on. It's kind of a neat idea to utilize the visuals of your inputs to practice a few special moves. All of the games I just mentioned have certain combinations that you can do with specific inputs on your controller. For example, let's say you're a newbie to Street Fighter controls, and you very well might be. Ken and Ryu's moveset involves pressing forward followed by a quick down forward to initiate a fireball projectile. This is a great way to test a controller's responsiveness. If you can't easily shoot a fireball with a D-pad, then it's likely to be a pretty bad D-pad for fighting games. And I'm sure we've all seen our fair share of those. The D-pad often makes or breaks a controller. In this footage, you can see me performing this special move pretty easily every single time. The Hadoken might be a bad example because it's so easy to pull off, but I'm sure you can imagine some other more complicated special moves that you could use the visual lighting feature to practice with. Sure, most fighting games these days have a practice mode that will also show you the moves you're inputting as they're happening, but I really thought this was a really nice touch on this controller. Maybe I'm reaching here, and this feature is nothing but a distracting light show. Still, I really do like it, and I'm glad that they included it with this controller. Either way, you always have the option to turn these lights off with a simple button combination. I'll probably be turning them off myself just to save a little battery life. Speaking of, battery life seems to be pretty good for this controller. I've been testing it with a variety of games, but my go-to Steam game lately has been Mega Bonk. If you're unfamiliar, I'm so sorry to bring this addictive game to your attention. This one is essentially an auto-battler. It's basically like if Vampire Survivors and Risk of Rain 2 had a baby. It's so much fun, and your runs can last anywhere from a few minutes to about 30 or 40, and it's really very difficult to do just one run in a play session. I've lost many hours of my day to this game. I always play this game sitting on my comfy couch, and I've had zero latency issues doing this. This controller also has its own dedicated software. Here you can update the firmware for both the controller and the dongle as you see me doing here. You can also customize your RGB lighting, configure macros, and set up profiles with custom button mappings. You can change a ton of settings, including your vibration intensity, and you can even adjust the sensitivity of each TMR analog stick. This software alone puts the Ultimate Wireless 2 in the premium controller category. Sony's DualSense Edge allows you to customize that controller in a similar way, but 8BitDo is arguably offering a lot more with the Ultimate Wireless 2 at a much lower cost. To be honest, I'm having a really tough time finding any negatives with this controller, and I'm not really surprised. I mean, 8BitDo has been doing this for a long time. One thing about their controllers that you can easily see on the website is that they are constantly trying to improve them. Take note that this is called the Ultimate Wireless 2 controller, meaning that there is an Ultimate Wireless 1. The biggest improvement between the 1 and the 2 seemed to be that instead of Hall effect joysticks, we've now upgraded to TMR sticks. The only negative thing I can think about this is the fact that I'm pretty much locked to using this controller just on my PC. Yes, you can definitely use the controller with official Apple products and even your smartphones, but that sort of thing absolutely just does not interest me. I would absolutely love to use this controller on my PlayStation 5 or even some of my more retro video game consoles. I know that 8BitDo has some sort of deal going on with Xbox, as they seem to have a few officially licensed Xbox controllers coming out. Maybe they can develop a dongle that will allow this controller to connect to other systems. I mean, can you imagine using this on the original Xbox or even the 360? Okay, so now let's answer that big question: how much is this controller selling for? Right now, it's selling brand new for just $60. That's pretty crazy if you ask me. Sony sells their DualSense brand new starting at about $70, and they aren't even equipped with Hall effect joysticks, much less TMR sticks. You don't get extra mappable buttons or a fancy charging dock included with the DualSense. Man, Sony really needs to step up their game. I've seen stick drift on my DualSense controllers firsthand thanks to Battlefield 6, and it's not fun to deal with. It's nice to know that the sticks on the Ultimate Wireless 2 won't ever have that issue thanks to them being TMR. I will fully admit that first-person shooters are best when played with a mouse and keyboard. However, I always prefer to play them with a controller because that's how I started with Battlefield 3 all the way back in 2011. I really wish I could try out Battlefield 6 with this controller, but I ended up getting the game on my PS5 instead of the PC. The only other nitpick that I have about this controller is the location of the D-pad. I wish it was just a little bit more to the left. I'm seeing now that this probably couldn't happen because of the dock. The irony is that the convenience of the dock takes away a bit of controller real estate, and that's what I mentioned feeling at the beginning of this video. This controller is just a little bit smaller than other controllers that don't have a dock like this one does, but I suppose if you add somewhere, ultimately, you'll have to subtract from somewhere too. To be clear, the D-pad is really nice, and it really reminds me of a Super Nintendo D-pad, and that's always a good thing. After all, the SNES D-pad is widely regarded as one of the best of all time, if not the best. I've got larger hands, and I do feel like I'm reaching for it, just a tad, but I spent a few hours playing 2D-based games like Absalom and Panzer Paladin, and my left hand never felt uncomfortable or anything. All in all, these Ultimate Wireless 2 controllers are a ton of bang for your buck. This one is going to be my main PC controller from now on. It's just too easy to charge and connect to my PC for it to not be my main controller. After heavily testing both 2D and 3D based games, I found it to be, dare I say, the ultimate all-rounder controller. I'd really like to thank 8BitDo for sending me this controller for review, and I'm super excited to see what they come up with next. Everyone knows we've needed a proper wireless Dreamcast controller with 6 face buttons for a long time now, and I'm hoping that someone takes on this burden soon, and if that challenge was accepted by 8BitDo, I'd feel pretty good about that. So what do you guys think about this Ultimate Wireless 2 controller? Does the name fit? Have you had any experience with 8BitDo controllers in the past, and if so, which one was your favorite? Let me know the answers to all those questions in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys at the next video. Bye-bye.